Welcome, everyone. My guest today is Jason Mitchell, founder of the Jason Mitchell Group, which is one of the fastest growing real estate brokerages in the U.S., to talk about recent lawsuits targeting the referral relationship between mortgage lenders and real estate agents and where he thinks the risk lies. First, I want to thank our sponsors, Trust and Will, for making this episode possible. Jason, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming back on. I think it's funny because I wanted to talk to you about lawsuits, and then we had to kind of define which lawsuits because there's so many. It has not gotten easier or smaller, the number of lawsuits. Like, it just feels like it's like those gremlins, right? They just are like, they're just multiplying.
I also think people are getting numb to it.
Yeah.
I think that's the reality. It's just one after another. And I think people are starting to become numb to it. It's unfortunate because the reality is that this actually hurts our industry in mortgage and in real estate, because ultimately you got to defend yourself, and that costs millions and millions of dollars. And ultimately consumers pay the price of that, because people want to extort and try to have a quick money grab. It is unfortunate, but I guess it's the world we're in today. But I wish it could just stop. I mean, every day there's just a new lawsuit. It's not helping anybody.
It's crazy. Okay, so the most recent one that I'd like to talk to you about first, or at least in a larger sense, is the class action lawsuit against Rocket Companies, right? Which alleges steering to specific real estate agents. It goes to home price inflation, how it hurts consumers, which is we hear echoes of this from the NAR Commission lawsuits. And actually, one of the law firms involved in this is the same one at that National Association of Realtors lawsuit. So, this is a playbook they're very familiar with. So I know that, you work with Rocket, right? Jason Mitchell Companies. You guys are the preferred real estate group for Rocket, Veterans United, New American Funding, Zillow, Open Door, AmeriSave, a whole bunch. So this speaks to that, but I know we're going to be talking about it from kind of a higher level on
Sure.
what does the referral relationship look like? So when you saw this, first off, what did you first think?
Well, I think it's a carbon copy of the CFPB lawsuit. And, I don't want to speak on behalf of Rocket. That's not my place, or any of my partners. But the troubling part is none of my partners, and I'm not their only partner, by the way. They have thousands of partners, but I can speak specifically for us in these partnerships. There is no requirement to send your clients to do anything in terms of making sure that the people we send you close with us. There's no, and this isn't just Rocket. This is all of the partners that we have. There's never any measurement or indication of, we want all of your mortgage business and all of the stuff we send you, you have to close that with us. It doesn't exist. If it did exist, I can tell you that the 4 years that were spent with the CFPB, they would have found that. And if the question is, why is the closing ratio in the 60-70% when a lender refers out a consumer, the answer to that question is because they originated the consumer. The consumer has just spent an hour on the phone with a loan officer, getting all their information, pre-qualling them, and then pondering the question, do you have a real estate professional? And if the consumer says no, and the question is, would you like us to connect you with a trusted one that we know in your local market? Well, that's the consumer's choice. But the closing ratio is because they've already done a lot of work, the consumer. It's like, why is it that the first real estate agent that shows up to the listing appointment gets the listing 78% of the time?
Right.
Because they're first. And on the side of the referral, what I don't understand, and what I just can't get, is if you're going to look at the referral side of it as something that shouldn't occur, if the consumer requests to work with a realtor because they don't have one, the alternative to not making that suggestion means what? What it means is that 80% of licensed real estate professionals Last year, 80% of licensed real estate professionals last year sold less than 2 houses. So if that consumer goes out to find their own real estate agent, they have a 4 in 5 chance of finding somebody that's not an actual true professional. Now, I'm not sure about you, Sarah, but if somebody can recommend me somebody that's a true professional, that's vetted and very good at what they do, I'll take that referral rather than me going to guess.
Right.
I said online too, not just mortgage or real estate, every industry works on referrals, some way, somehow. I would rather get a referral for a doctor than to just find one on my own. I would rather get a referral to a good CPA than go find one on my own. I would like to get a referral when you talk about literally anything, a nanny, anything on the referral side. And so for me, I look at this and say, wait a minute, hold on a second. If this is helping a consumer have a better experience, and we know that these people are really good at what they do, they're in the top 5% or top 10% or top 1%, well, that's a good thing for consumers. If they go back to this referral fee, collecting a referral fee, where I think someone might take that is, well, the referral fee that you paid to the real estate entity that sent you that referral, those monies could be given to the consumer. So you're paying a middleman. And the reality is that's not true. And the reason that's not true and why that has no water to it, when you look at a buyer broker agreement, if real estate agents that receive referrals are upcharging their commission, their buyer broker commission, when they get referrals versus somebody that didn't have a referral applicable, then you may have a problem. But the reality is not only do we not do that, and we have mandates on that, and it's obviously in our terms and conditions that you can't call it gouge just because you may have to pay more. Real estate agents don't. If the standard buyer broker commission that a real estate agent looks for is 3%, this is where that doesn't hold water. If it's 3% when I get a referral is what my standard fee is, and 3% when I meet someone at an open house, well, then the delta of that actually is from my services. If it was a world of, well, I charge 4.5% when I get a referral, but 3% when I don't, yeah, that's gouging. That to me is a problem, but that's a real estate independent contractor problem, not the problem that the referring source sent to you. So I would hope that in our industry and in our practices, and I can't speak for all real estate agents out there, but your services are your services. It doesn't matter the source. Your standard commission that you charge on a buyer broker agreement is universal across the board. Now that can change, but what I'm saying is you can't have real estate agents that say, I charge 5% when I get a referral, and then I charge 3% when I don't. I can tell you at JMG, it's not allowed to happen. We don't allow it to happen. And I can't speak for anybody else, but that's where I think none of this referral fee has weight to it, because I would venture to say in almost every case, the standard buyer broker fee that a real estate professional charges is the same regardless if it's self-generated or sourced from a referral partner.
Right. One of the things that I have a hard time with when it comes to especially class action lawsuits, because we know, first of all, it's not the people who were supposedly harmed who get that money. They get what, $16, $4, 4 cents. It is absolutely the lawyers who get rich through this. But here, if we're talking about, consumer harm in some way, for me, a lot of times I feel like it's just treating the consumer like a baby, like you're infantilizing the consumer. If I'm sitting there and I'm talking to you, or talking to somebody as a mortgage loan officer, and I say, who do you recommend? I'm asking you, who do you recommend? Because I trust you, and I know that you might have a relationship with them that might, whatever. I'm asking. I'm initiating.
Listen, what you guys always say when you send out great articles, HousingWire say, go deeper. So let's go deeper on that, Sarah. Almost every transaction in real estate or mortgage has a referral in some way, shape, or form. Let me explain what I mean. If you're a retail loan officer, right, your job is to try to work with real estate professionals to earn their trust and their business. So if you're a retail loan officer and I find Sarah Wheeler as a client who wants to buy a home in Scottsdale, what do I tell her? Hey, by the way, I know Jason Mitchell. He's an exceptional agent in Scottsdale. Would you like me to connect you? That's a referral.
Right.
Now, the other way is if I find a client at an open house or a friend or family member, and I say, have you talked to anybody about your financing? No, I haven't. Great. Let me connect you with my guy so-and-so at so-and-so. He was really good at what they do. The client says, sure, I'd love to talk to them. Why? Because they trust my judgment. But that's a referral. How about any agent across the country that has referred a client to somebody else in a different market center? So if I'm in Arizona, if I'm in Phoenix and someone's moving to Detroit and I know a great agent in Detroit to help that client, and I call them up and I say, hey, my aunt is moving back to Detroit. Can you help her? Yeah, sure. Great. Do you mind paying me a referral fee for that? Of course not. I'm happy to work with her, and I'm happy to pay you for sending me that client. My aunt is happy because she doesn't have to go do any of the legwork. She has a trusted agent in Detroit that's going to help her. And for me facilitating this, I'm going to ask that real estate agent to pay me a referral fee. So tell me, in any industry, especially in lending and mortgage, almost all of our transactions in some way, shape, or form come from a referral. So where do you, so what you're saying is a consumer direct loan officer taking applications can't refer a real estate agent that they know and trust, but a retail loan officer, that's how they make their entire living. All of them is through referrals through real estate professionals, but they can. The answer is no, and there's no difference. So this whole trying to maybe clamp down on the referral space is ridiculous to me, because that's how our entire industry operates.
Right. So, you said you see a lot of parallels between this and the CFPB suit. Of course, the difference there is you've got regulatory versus, just a class action consumer lawsuit. For me, I look at it and go, I look at Sitzer Burnett or some of those big commission lawsuits, and I go, in that one, I could not, I sat through some of that trial, and I'm just telling you, I could not find the consumer harm. I thought I didn't feel like they proved their point. I thought it was, ridiculous, and they won, right? The plaintiffs won there. Yeah. So I go, this looks like to me, I think you and I were talking about beforehand. You're like, it seems like a nothing burger. That's what we've heard from different people too. That's not legal advice, nothing burger.
Yeah.
But there's always, anytime you have a class action, anytime you go before a jury, anytime there's a risk that people see harm where, if you know the industry better, you don't see harm, or you understand the way things work, you don't see harm. So when you look at this, is there a part of you that's like, this could have a big impact?
I guess you never know, because I can tell you during the NAR lawsuit, I'm sitting there saying, wait a minute, attorneys are suing real estate brokerages over contracts that their industry prepared.
Good point.
So how bizarre, but we saw the outcome of that. And I think there's attorneys that are really good at getting people to say, oh, whoa, Miss Consumer, Mr. Consumer. But the reality is I didn't see where consumers were harmed in that case. And in this case, especially, you're going to have to prove that you forced real estate professionals to use your lending institution. That they tried to figure that out for 4 years, and they couldn't, because it never happened. Because it never happened.
Right.
Yeah, and it never happened. And I can tell you, and again, I don't want to speak on behalf of Rocket or anybody else. That's not my place. I'm telling you what I know. And what I know is there's not a single lending partner that I have, or of the ones that, we could name, that require any type of mortgage capture, that require any type of give back. If there was, we would have. Now, they say the reason that the case at the CFPB was dismissed was because the Trump administration came in. I will tell you, there were, I think, and don't quote me on this, and I don't want to misspeak, but I believe there were 39 active lawsuits at the CFPB when I got sued. We were the first case dropped. And there's still cases with the CFPB. Everybody thought the CFPB would get totally dismantled in January. The CFPB didn't really start getting dismantled until like April or May. There's still active litigation going on. What they looked at is which one is most frivolous. Well, thankfully, it was ours. But that's because there was no merit. There's no merit when you can't prove that you were doing the things that you're suggesting that were done. Now, again, however this plays out, I don't know. What I do know and what we can prove is that we get sent a referral from our partnerships, and many other real estate agents as well get sent a referral, and it's very specific. Mrs. Wheeler is looking for a home in Sacramento, California. Can you make sure to take care of Mrs. Wheeler? Yes, I will. Great. We're going to send her to you today. And there's a reason that the majority of the time, if not almost all the time, I mean, even if you look at, we do what, 12, 13,000 transactions a year. I think we had one consumer complaint last year. One. I mean, it's crazy. This is and also too, most of the time the consumer does get some type of lending credit or some type of reward by going down this path. Not only do we have a trusted agent partnership, but also we can credit you. And the reason they can credit you without damaging margin is because they will, not the lending institution, but a real estate institution will collect some type of referral fee from the agent's pocket, not the consumer's, the agent's pocket, to help credit the consumer and save them money. Like, who really pays in this is the real estate agent, because their standard practice of commissions is the same. And so if that's the same, but I have to give up a point because I was referred this client, most agents say that work referrals. Yeah, but I'd rather have that source of business and not make as much commission on that client because it's a client I wouldn't have had anyway.
Okay, so let's talk for a second about RESPA, right? I mean, a whole other can of worms, but what do you think about it? Is there something there that could be done, RESPA reform or better definitions or whatever that could clear up some of the problems on that side?
Transparency is everything. And the more transparent you are with the consumer, the better it is for everybody. And so if there's something that I think potentially could happen, I think disclosure potentially on a settlement statement that a referral fee was collected. I think that, when you go to close on your home, it's already disclosed ahead of time, well ahead of time, that we're connecting with a real estate professional. We have a relationship with them. We may collect a referral fee of some sort. So it's already disclosed. But I think maybe putting it on the settlement statement is, because again, a consumer is not going to care because they didn't pay for that. The real estate agent paid for that. And what they're going to find is that instead of on a $300,000 purchase, instead of making $9,000, the agent made $6,000, but paid $3,000 to the person that sent them their way, which there's no harm in that. And so maybe disclosure there. I know in our documents, what we have is that we spell out specifically in our buyer broker agreement and in our listing contract that there may be cases where you were referred to us from a referral partner. In that case, a referral fee may be applicable to that partnership. We like to get ahead of that. We do disclose that into our agreements, but it's never been required to be on a settlement statement. Now, I think there are some states actually that do. So if I'm saying that wrong, I think there are some states that do that we obviously do, but the majority of states don't require that on the settlement statement. I see no issue with that. And if that becomes the case, I don't think anybody will care either. It's such a common practice. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, even if you go down the relo world, that industry has been around 50 plus years. That's all referrals, right?
Right.
Almost everything in our business is a referral. So where do you stop it? The reality is, as long as it's transparent and disclosed and the consumer says, I'd love to work with somebody that you suggest, there's no harm here.
Jason, thank you so much for being on, shedding some more light on this very important topic. You and I both know we're gonna have lots more discussions on this. We'll be keeping a close eye, and we'll have you on again soon to talk about anything that's coming up, because this is just an ongoing situation with lawsuits and real estate and mortgage going forward.
So let me ask you, before you let me go, I want to ask you a personal question on that. On the referral piece of a consumer not knowing a real estate professional and asking for a recommendation, do you see any harm with any company recommending a trusted real estate professional for a consumer?
No. And as a consumer, I've been that person when I've moved to a new area or worked with a lending partner in the past and didn't know somebody in the new area. So yeah, no, it's a benefit to me. I want to work with good people who work with good people. That's right. That's how we all think, right?
Well, and I go back to these stats. You got a 4 out of 5 chance of connecting with an agent that didn't sell at least 2 houses the year prior. So if you only sell 2 houses a year, no offense to the agents that watch this that do, if you only transact once every 6 months, you're not a true professional. You can't make a living like that. Most can't. So you got a 4 out of 5 chance of finding somebody that's not a true pro, or you can take a recommendation of someone that is. I'll take option B.
Totally understand. Thank you so much, Jason. We will talk again soon.
Thank you.